But when you go to, let's say, something like a Tubi, and you see different titles and, images, movie posters, do you watch something and say, I figured this is why this one didn't do well, or this one is why this is being featured and propped up on Tubi? Because I love going to Tubi for that reason.
Yes, absolutely. I'll go to Tubi and figure out why a movie is trending. And I'll look at the cover, and then I'll push play for a few minutes. And a lot of times I'm perplexed, and this is where the creative in me comes into play. I'm like, the lighting isn't that great. The sound isn't that good. The story's okay, but it's trending. So clearly they're doing something right that I'm not doing, right? And that's not to say that, I'm making the best movies in the world, because I'm not. But when you look at Tubi and you see all the movies that trend, you have to ask yourself as a creative, and you have to almost put your ego to the side, because it's no longer about what's the best quality. It's what is the story that's captivating the audience that it was intended for. I think that was the big differentiator for someone like myself. So when I made Rhino King, that was made for Tubi. That wasn't made for, okay, I'm gonna try and sell it to this distributor, I'm gonna try and get it on that platform. It was no, we are making this movie for Tubi. As soon as it's done, it's released, right? We used Film Hub to release it, and the marketing, even though it's on Prime now, the marketing dollars that I have for it, I'm waiting for it to go to Tubi, so then I can start pushing it.
Oh, great.
And that movie, you have James, male dancer, house husband, and he goes through his journey, rom-com, real fast pace, 80 minutes, before you know it, it's over, done. The audience for that were females. So I made it for females. And I think once you know your audience and you know who it's for, you don't have to get the rest of the world. You don't have to try and win 100. You just have to win your audience. So knowing your audience beforehand, I think, is very important.
And sorry, you wrote the script for that as well?
Yes.
And when you were writing, did you say to your wife or whomever, this is for Tubi, I am making this? You
100%.
did? Okay. How smart. Okay.
Yeah. That movie from the gate, because I was looking at Tubi and I was like, I see what's trending, right? And we're not talking about the older Hollywood movies that tend to trend. We're talking about like the indie projects, right? And there's a reoccurring theme across the board. And anybody can go on Tubi right now and you'll see it. And I said, I see what these stories are now. I won't do these stories because I'm not interested in these particular stories. But what I will do is make a film for this audience in my particular way. So I can give my original voice, but it's targeted towards an audience. It's like creating a unique bow and arrow and you're shooting it towards your target, but instead of using wood, you're using, I don't know, titanium, spears or something, I don't know. So.
Okay, and so it's not on Tubi yet,
Not
so
yet.
we don't know if the formulation worked.
Sure.
But
It's a test.
Watching the trailer, I was like, I would watch this.
Yes.
So,
You're my audience.
I guess I am. Okay, we'll see in maybe, 6 months?
Yeah, maybe. I think based on I would say to all the filmmakers, join the Tubi Facebook groups.
Okay.
They seem to help push movies when they release. And I know that because when I put Rhino King, I was like, hey guys, it's on Amazon Prime now. Majority of the comments were, oh, you got to pay for this. So that was the stop. That was the, when is it coming on Tubi? I'll let you guys know when it drops. So a lot of those groups, they wait for it to particularly drop on Tubi.
And out of curiosity, the people in those Facebook groups, are they other filmmakers?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but what I do notice about those Facebook groups are the ones that are ran by filmmakers, they're kind of iffy on whether they're going to allow you to post your movie or not.
Sure, because there's an element, same with Reddit, there's
Sure.
an element of this self-promotion. Because it goes back to, I think, something Jay Horton said when he was on our channel, was that a lot of indie filmmakers don't always watch other indie filmmakers' movies. So that's why I was curious. I think he's right.
Yeah, sure.
That who was in sort of the Facebook group, but that's fascinating. So you're waiting for that to happen, and then you're gonna hopefully post or have them post on there.
Yeah, I'll do the full marketing push for that run. And I know people might say, well, why wouldn't you do that for Amazon Prime when, right now it's up there for like $2.99? For me, it's more, I want to test my theory. And I only have a limited amount of funds. So those limited amount of funds, I have to aim it correctly. What you'll realize is fairly quickly is if you put a couple $100s behind something, you're not going to really get a return. It has to be a constant drip of a couple $100s throughout 6 months, 7 months, however long it is, before you start seeing those numbers populate. People have to see it a few times before they're like, let me give it a watch. So with that, I wanted to test my theory because there's a few things that are happening. Distribution, when I got into filmmaking and based on the stories that I've heard, has completely changed. Before, if you had a project, and we're not talking about projects with big stars, but from the indie landscape, if you had a good enough project, maybe you got a minimum guarantee, which is, hey, we want to represent your movie, here's $10,000, and then you'll get money after we recoup our costs. Nowadays, they're not offering, for the most part, minimum guarantees, and you're still responsible for splitting the funds while also responsible for marketing the project. So with Rhino King, I took it upon myself where I was like, okay, well, let me hold on to the distribution. Let me use a service like Film Hub. Let me populate it on these platforms, and then let me market it and see what it does. Because I know that if it doesn't do well, when I had a particular audience in mind, and I'm putting the money behind it, and I'm able to see the numbers and it doesn't correlate, then I know, okay, well, these distributors are not necessarily lying to you either. You just have a film that people are not interested in. But if I'm doing it and I'm able to see those numbers straight from the source as close as it gets, then if it doesn't do well, I know, okay, that's on me. And if it does do well, then it also makes you question, okay, well, what did I leave on the table with giving my project to a distributor? Not to say that there aren't good distributors, because they are, but I just wanted to see if I have a quality project and I put marketing dollars behind it, what does the return look like? This is almost a self-test before I get to the next 2 movies to determine, okay, do you go with the distributor based on these results, or do you keep it and then multiply that by 3 movies compared to 1?
Jason, how many movies do you have on Tubi currently?
So I would say 3, 4. It was 4, now it's 3. So Rex Park originally was on Tubi. That thing made like $96, right? Over the course of like 4 years. That was my first movie, and that's okay, right? Four Amigos is on Tubi. That's through the distributor. And then I also re-released it as Fast Atlanta on YouTube. So that one on YouTube with 0 marketing, there's 2 different versions, Fast Atlanta and Furious Fast Atlanta. Just those 2 metrics within this year alone have over 1 million views. 0 marketing. Pizza Boy Rick, which was on Tubi, is no longer on Tubi, but that's on the CW. I don't know the numbers behind Pizza Boy Rick that's on the CW. And then we have Med Spa Life, which was a reality show that I did, that's on Tubi. So the next 3 films, the Rhino King, Always Smile, and Speed Faster, with Rhino King, I'm waiting for Tubi because that was made for Tubi. With Always Smile, I made that almost as a festival film. So it has a different energy behind it. It has a different way of storytelling. It was created very differently. Speed Faster is more of a, I don't want to say commercial indie, but it's more of like a commercial indie based on how I set it up.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens.
Are you able to share any numbers in terms of how much you made, or that's something you don't feel comfortable with?
No. So within the indie space, Rex Park made like $90 over like 4 or 5 years. The one that's actually made the best was the reality show I made called Med Spa Life.
Oh.
And that I think right now is at like $2,500, right?
Okay.
And that $2,000 came from Rio Shorts. It's a vertical kind of setup on it. So none of my movies have been this blockbuster hit or have done anything that would warrant me to continue making movies. But there's this thing inside of me where I'm like, I have to figure out what that thing is, because I know that I'm making a mistake somewhere. And I know that because of the reception of people when they actually see the product or the project, and they're like, wow, that was great. Okay, well then if it's great, then I have to figure out what am I doing wrong to where I'm not getting it in front of the audience. So with Rhino King, that was the first movie where I actually joined all the Tubi Facebook groups and all that stuff to try and help push that. So with every film, what's happening is I'm doing a test of learning how can I get better at this to do this compared to let me just give it to this distributor, let them put it through their channels, and then, oh, when it comes out, I can tell people, hey, it's on such and such. It's understanding the mechanics of presenting a movie to the world and how to get that to do well. And once I cracked whatever that code is, and then I'm able to duplicate it and see that it works again, I think that's when the momentum of success starts happening.
Sure. Well, you're a network engineer.
Yes.
And that's problem solving.
Yes.
It's why is this handshake not working with this handshake?
That's exactly what it is.
And so you know how to kind of like look at something and take it apart.
Sure.
And so it sounds like that's what you're trying to do
Yes.
with your films.
That's exactly what it is. The only difference is with movies is that it takes me 6 months, a year between each one. So when I have to do the problem solving, I have to wait a lot longer. Whereas in engineering, it's instant. Oh, okay, that packet's not talking to that packet. Oh, that did not get over there. What's the problem? Let me go ahead and see where the blockage is happening. With movies, you have to wait, and everything is different. You hope that if I put $500 in marketing that you get 1,000 back, right? But in reality, if you get 1,000 back, you're down 500, then you got to cut 20%, which is 200. So now they are 300. Was it worth the effort? I don't know yet, but I'm determined to get there to where once I solve it, then you're no longer just talking to an indie filmmaker. Because if I solve that 1,000 now turns to 2,500, okay, so what happens when I put 10,000? Is that now 18,000? Okay, well, what happens if I put 50,000? Is that now 97,000? So it's just figuring out whatever that whatever that movie formula is to get the movie to the audience to where they'll actually watch it.